With dreams of flying, she grew up in Annapolis, not far from the gates of the Naval Academy, and became the Navy's first African-American female naval flight officer. Correspondent James Crawford has this interview with Matice Wright.
Tell us about your childhood in Annapolis and the impact that had in influencing you to join the military.
I was very fortunate. My parents had a house that was just about 1.5 miles from the Naval Academy, and we did a lot of events. We'd go to football games at the stadium, or we'd go to track meets, or go hear a speaker, or go to different events. If there was a play or something the midshipmen were performing, go watch the sailboat races. Lots of events at the Naval Academy were attended by me and my sisters and brothers. So I was indoctrinated very early, just because of geography, I guess. But we also used to sponsor midshipmen. My family used to sponsor mids, and so when I was a little girl, there were always midshipmen either at my mom's house or at my cousins' houses or wherever. So talking to them was easy to do, and to learn what they were going to be doing, which is serving in the Navy. By the time I was a senior in high school, I was very interested in kind of following the paths that many of them had shared with me, to either fly an airplane or drive a ship, or do support in some way, be on a submarine, which was not permissible for women at the time. It is today, I'm happy to say. All of those things were very intriguing to me, especially the flying part.
You are very well known for your background in naval flight. Do you still feel like you're still flying sometimes?
So my background in the Navy, I've been very fortunate. I am the Navy's first African-American naval flight officer, female. And certainly when I was in flight school, I wasn't trying to become that, but it was a title, and it's, when I first learned that no other African-American woman had done what I was trying to do, I first thought, wow, that's unfortunate, because that's an entire group of people that have not been able to contribute to a very reputable career path. And so I was honored to recognize that I was going to be the first, but then I thought, whoa, there's nothing that I'm doing that's so brilliant that no one like me should have ever had the opportunity to do. But the key thing there is being given the opportunity, and the Naval Academy prepared me well so that when I got to flight school, I was able to complete the curriculum and earn my wings as a naval flight officer. It is a bit of a famous role that I have in the Navy as a first, and hopefully when a young lady, maybe a 6-year-old, looks at me and has a desire to fly one day, she can kind of say, well, she did it, so I can do it too. I wasn't privy to that, but that didn't stop me. I mean, I wanted to fly, and it didn't come to my conscience that, hey, no one that looked like me had ever done it before. So I just put my head down and really worked hard, and it was not easy. Even though I had the great preparation of very high-level math science at the Naval Academy, when I got to flight school, it's still very difficult. But it was well worth it, and there is nothing like flying. I mean, I've had the pleasure of serving in the private sector for 20-plus years, and there's just no equivalent thing to flying. But there have also been some very great opportunities that I've had in the private sector that I just couldn't have gotten if I were still in uniform. So it all balances out in the end.
Can you tell us something about your own transition from the military world into the civilian world? What was that like? One
of the things I remember very vividly when I my first day at work, which was for a company called SRA, so they had hired me, had gone through the application and interview process, and I literally, my first day of work was in the elevator with the CEO of the company. Didn't know that because, on active duty, when you're in the presence of your leadership, you can look over and see, oh, that guy has stars, I don't. He's senior, I'm not. But with the CEO, he was in a business suit, I was in a business suit. So literally we get in the elevator, he's going to one floor, I'm going to another. So you say good morning. And it was very, very unhierarchical, or there just wasn't the hierarchy or structure that I experienced in the military. So that was a bit of a transition. And one of the other things that I found to be kind of interesting with my transition was, in the military, you had a specific role. When I was the navigator in my aircraft, I had a specific thing that I was responsible for doing. In the private sector, as a businesswoman, you can kind of be creative. You can go beyond the scope of work that you're assigned to do. And that's embraced. It's basically whoever's in the conference room or in the meeting room who has an answer can raise their hand and give it, and that's well received. In the military, there were some instances where that was not always welcome. You know, when you're the lieutenant, you're not supposed to say things in the presence of the general in some instances. So the rigor and the constraints in the military, I found when I went to the private sector, they just weren't as visible.
You have talked often in the past about the importance of STEM, okay? Can you just tell us, and why is this so important for careers in the workforce today?
I think it's extremely important. You know, I don't think you can walk up to any person in any environment and not find at least, if there are 10 people, you're probably going to see at least 10 cell phones in their pockets, or a laptop in their bag, or an iPad somewhere. So the technology is now on us, right? I mean, we literally carry it in our pocket almost everywhere we go. And if you get in your car and you're headed to work and you've forgotten your cell phone, 9 times out of 10, you're going to turn back around and go back and get it. So science, technology, engineering, and math is very much a part of our everyday lives today. Now that computers are very much in our lives, understanding how they work or how they don't work, or what we want to do with them or not do with them, I think is even more important than in the generation when I was in high school. When I was in high school, computer science was a thing to do, but it wasn't the thing to do. I think now, as a nation, the more kids and young people that we can get studying in STEM, I just think our nation is going to be better. From the Internet of Things, which like I was talking to a colleague the other day who just literally changed the thermostats in their house to these internet-driven thermostats. They're called Nest, is the product that he was using. And so to understand how to control that with your phone when you're at work, so that when you get home, the temperature in your house is correct, you kind of, you know, understanding the science behind that and what's happening when you dial into the internet on your phone to make the change of your thermostat at your house. Much of what we will do today and tomorrow and into the future is going to be somehow related to science, technology, engineering, and math. So that's why one of the things I frequently will tell young people that are elementary school or college age is to study in the harder science, technology areas, because I think that, first of all, I think our nation needs it. Because there's just not enough of us. When we look at the competitive landscape of who our peers and adversaries are across the globe, the more students that we can have who understand STEM, I think the better off our nation will be.
That's all for this edition of Veterans in Transition. We ask that you like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. If you have a story to tell, reach out to us at vetsintransition.com. And remember, we all have a story to tell. Until next time.
But then the Lord fit for the kids to come and live with me 6 years ago. So my wife at the time wasn't feeling it. She said, babe, I only signed up for the every other weekend. I don't know if I can do this all the time. I said, listen, babe, I got that. I said, but if the children come back and live with us, that $1,500 come back in the house. She said, I heard the Lord say, let's raise these kids. I ain't saying she a gold digger, but y'all know the rest of that song. So I had this bright idea. I said, I'm on my third marriage. First two didn't work out. This one got to work out. So I had this awesome idea that I'm going to do something to help this marriage work. I didn't go to no counseling. I didn't go to no pastor. I moved my mother-in-law in.